what's up, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and there's a battle brewing on social media between the Daily Wire staff and the Tate brothers, both going pretty hard in the paint on the other ones. It's been an interesting thing to watch because the Daily Wire certainly, was quick to bring in Andrew for clicks and views, things of that nature. Many people believe or say that it was a softball interview. I don't know. I don't really, watch a lot of Candace Owens, to be honest with you. But, this has been an interesting back and forth, obviously all stemming from Ben's very aggressive remarks. Ben, of course, this may shock you to find out, is in fact Jewish. And so he's got some very strong opinions on what's going on right now between them and Palestine, or Hamas more specifically. And this is it's getting pretty spicy, and as I mentioned, I want to mention today our wildly popular strawberries and cream flavor on coffeebrandcoffee.com is now available for pre-order in K-Cup, along with our blueberry cobbler. These are our top two flavors. I'm working on butterscotch toffee soon too. We also did a K-Cup variety pack, which I think would be great for your home or office. It gives you some dark roast, some medium roast, as well as both the blueberry cobbler and the strawberries and cream. Promo code in the description to save 10% off your pre-order. They'll ship in a few days, so it's not like that far out, but I wanted to put it out there and ask you for your support if you enjoy coffee or know someone that does. Tim Pool writes, I warned about this yesterday. If Americans are taken hostage, the U.S. may send boots on the ground. This is after Disclosed TV put, Pentagon does not rule out a special operation to rescue American citizens in Gaza. I'm actually 100% fine with this. Send in Delta Force, go get them. Waste anybody who's standing around and then extract them. I'm 100% fine with that. I think most people are. But we see, Ben using some pretty strong language here. Internet bot user and fake news guy Mario Nafal tweets out, just in, the UN Special Rapporteur for Human Rights in Palestine, we are horrified by what's happening and we call for a truce. Ben Shapiro writing, and they can F right off. That's very strong language for Benny Boy. But, I got to admit, my position remains as non-interventionist, but the more, footage we're seeing, I think that if I were to pick a side, it's probably the one that isn't mowing down concert goers or removing the heads from infant bodies, which we've seen now today. It's interesting, again, then Andrew Tate, who has converted to being Muslim, replies, Mr. Tough Guy, let me assure you, as someone who has done his own fighting, as opposed to excitedly encouraging others to do it for him while sitting at home in his comfy chair, peace is always worth a conversation. I don't disagree with that. I think that I understand Ben's emotional response. Seeing the things that we're seeing obviously is tough for a lot of people. I actually think long term, this is not a good thing for people to be consuming this kind of stuff on the regular in terms of, on Twitter and other places. But that's a conversation for a different day. What I will say is peace is always worth a conversation. And it is, you see Nick Searcy, let's see you talk peace when someone, removes someone's head, all this kind of stuff. Again, my position has been non-intervention and really just let them handle it themselves. I think Israel is extremely well equipped to handle this, and I'm fine to just stay out of the way. I know that, this type of stuff, conflicts like this get messy and terrible and, all that kind of stuff, but just stay out of it. Well, that's not enough as Ben. So you see this, babies, it's messed up. Certainly, I understand. So Ben quote tweets him saying, let me assure you, as someone who has not pimped women and bragged about it, that morality requires that those who do terrible things to women and take kids must be eradicated, not negotiated with. That's some very strong language. Tristan Tate replies, a Jewish man speaking of eradication of a race of people. 2023 is a scary time to be alive. I wonder how many of the women and kids who are soon to be obliterated actually did any of those terrible things. My guess is 0. This is nihilistic and evil. I don't disagree with that either. I think that, both sides are kind of preaching, they have a reason to stand where they're at. Tristan then, of course, replies, quote tweets him saying, yeah, I'm sure only men who fight for Hamas die in these airstrikes you're praising. The footage from the ground says otherwise. Either you've changed your tune in 22 hours or you literally forgot what you post. Talking about, encouraging escalation. Again, I don't know if any military leaders are following Ben Shapiro's Twitter for advice, but nonetheless, he then gets involved and says, either you're stupid or you're morally illiterate. Hamas literally hides behind civilians. They are currently texting civilians and telling them not to leave the target areas. They put their military headquarters under a hospital. I mean, that's just, I guess, smart. But, Ben's he's leaning towards kind of the, you gotta have to crack a few eggs if we're going to make an omelet. I don't know. I think there are more tactical ways to do it. I mean, it's easy to just fire off missiles from 500 miles away and never have to see the destruction, see what happens when you miss. I'm sure there are plenty of people that live in these areas that are not involved in anything, that probably don't support whatever it is militarily that these people are doing. Ben's leaning a little into the, a little into the ends justify the means. Then, of course, Jeremy Boring gets in on it. A man who grew up wanting to be a Hollywood actor. Again, I've never served. I never enlisted. I believe that those men and women are extremely brave, much more brave than I am. And so I always, it's, I try to pick my words carefully when I'm talking about other people having to fight and lose their life for my, beliefs. Jeremy Boring says, being a professional fighter nowhere compares to fighting for your life in the war, you poser piece of ass. I'd probably disagree with that. I think that you probably, hand-to-hand combat is a fight for your life, especially at at the MMA level, or even kickboxing. I think it's a lot closer than tweeting about it. Writing, you played a sport, good for you. Stop insinuating yourself into the company of those better than either of us who have fought in real battles. And try to have a conversation, and try having that conversation about peace with the women, doing the people that are doing these terrible things, who quote unquote started it. James Harrison replies, being a professional fighter is closer to battle than anything you've ever seen. I bet that's true. Andrew has clearly communicated his stance on the issue. You haven't heard it, obviously. What have you done more than Andrew to help anyone in these attacks? So then Boring dodges and says, being a professional fighter is about as close to war as being in a 2-story building is to being an astronaut. I doubt. I actually, I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I think that the mentality is very similar. You're fighting for your life. Obviously, it's not the same. It's on a completely different level, but for, at least in that moment in the ring, I think it's a little bit closer than tweeting. A little bit closer than tweeting. Ben Shapiro then takes on Tristan, says, I called for those who do these terrible things to be eradicated. So not only are you immoral, but you're apparently illiterate. Yeah, I'm sure only men, and then he points again, I'm sure only men who fight for Hamas passed away in these airstrikes you're praising, talking about that kind of stuff. I mean, it is true that they store their weapons and, in hospitals and schools and stuff like that because they know, they know that those are hard targets, that people will take a huge PR hit if they go after them. I think that, again, my position is that both sides need to chill out and stop being so excited and just let Israel handle it. I don't know how much military aid the United States has sent them over the past 20 years, but I got to think it's in the many billions. They have hundreds of thousands of their own troops. They don't need us intervening. They don't need, America sticking their nose in there. I support us, calling up Chuck Norris and Delta forcing in and getting American citizens out of harm's way. I support that. Extractions, I support. I don't support any other involvement beyond that. These two, obviously, very heated. Ben, I think, is a little warmongery here, but I think Ben's always been that way. A lot of neocons, they love their wars. The Tate brothers, again, I understand sometimes it's the messenger, not the message, but I would argue that, considering peace even at the worst times is still a good decision. I'm not sure why Jeremy Boring is getting involved in this. Not really his fight either, but he's Ben's friend, so he probably thinks that's that. It's going to be interesting to see all this play out. Certainly, I hope that by the end of the day, all this crap is over there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. People are got to get their hot takes out there.